Hello, I'm Sarah. This is Hardcover Hearts, and this is my week of reading wrap-up, where I talk about the books that I read, what I'm currently reading, and then potentially can read next week based on my mood. I had a very good reading week, but I didn't finish as many. But that's completely fine because what I finished was absolutely chef's kiss remarkable. So let's get into them, shall we? The very first thing that I completed was a book that I have been waiting for. I tried to get the NetGalley for, was denied. It's okay, it happens. But this is Jacqueline Winspear's newest release. Now, Jacqueline Winspear is famous for the Maisie Dobbs series, something that I love very much, which is a series about a lady detective who was kind of, we meet her as a young girl and we go through her childhood into her young adulthood and we kind of follow her life's journey. And she lives in London during the period right between the wars. And it leads into World War II and then a little bit coming out of it. So that's a great, great series. I suspect that she thinks that she might be done with Maisie Dobbs or needs a break from it because this is a standalone. This is called The White Lady. And it was so good. I actually am hoping this becomes something that she continues on because this character of Eleanor White was pretty remarkable. When we open the story, we meet a family called the Mackeys, and we meet Rose and her daughter Susie as they're taking a walk, and they're trying to meet people, and they know that they're outsiders in this village in Kent. This is after World War II, and they are, as they're kind of going through their day, they come across this very mysterious woman that everyone calls the White Lady. And she doesn't really talk to people. She keeps to herself. She's standoffish, guarded. And word about the town is that she did something in the service of the country, and therefore she has been gifted the home that she lives in. So that won't quell any rumors, will it? So everybody knows that she's someone important. They give her wide berth. But they don't really know why. Now, the young daughter, Susie, befriends her or really keeps trying. And she always says, hello, white lady, whenever she sees her, and is just kind of enchanted with her and breaks a little bit of her guard. One day, as the white lady, Eleanor is who we learn is her name, as she's walking by, she sees something disturbing, that Susie and her mother Rose are upset, crying. There's something going on, a disturbance going on in the home. And she asks what's going on because it bothers her. And she's worried that Rose and Susie are being abused by Jack, the father. It turns out it's Jack's family and brothers that are kind of menacing them and are very upset that Jack has left. So that kind of is the setup. And then we switch immediately into Eleanor's point of view. She has a phenomenal backstory. I mean, that is something that Jacqueline Winspear does very, very well. And we meet Eleanor as a young girl in Belgium before World War I. And it was herself as the youngest daughter, her older sister, and her mother. And they were on their own after the death of the father, and they were really worried about their safety in occupied Belgium. They are approached by a woman who asks for some help, and Eleanor specifically starts helping this woman, and that small little bit of help turns into actual espionage, actual sabotage. Something as innocent as sitting and drawing on a countryside is an opportunity for them to count the trains and how many carts are in the train, and then to give that information to this woman. And that's how it starts, very innocent, but next thing you know, it escalates more and more. And so she really is pulled in at a very young age into resistance work. And so in essence, what we have is a spy, assassin, saboteur, a really brilliant woman who is on a quest to defend this family, and people are underestimating her because of her age, because of her gender, and because of the times, frankly. And I loved this book. I thought it was so good. And like I said, I would really love to have more of this, because she was fantastic, a fantastic character. Next up, so I have Russell from Ink and Paper Blog to thank for teeing me up with this author. This is Deshaun Charles Winslow's Decent People. This is his second novel. I read In West Mills because of Russell's full-throated appreciation of In West Mills, and I loved that book. That book was set in this town of West Mills, North Carolina, and that was set in the 40s and 50s. This one is an expansion of that community, but it's the next generation. And so I think it's very, very clever how Deshaun Charles Winslow actually projected the same town, but projected into the next generation with new characters and a different type of book. So this is a mystery. What we have here is Jo, who is from West Mills. She grew up there, but then she left and she went up north with her family. And she has come back because she is in love and affianced with this man, Olympus. Everyone calls him Limp. And Limp is a Harmon. But he is the bastard son of the Harmons. And the Harmons were pretty influential Black family in West Mills. When his father dies, the three children who had moved away to New Jersey, they all come back and they live in the big house, and they start to establish a medical practice that all three work in. Only one of them is a doctor of the three, and these are all Limp's half siblings. And they really pay no mind and want nothing to do with Limp. Even though he was close with his father and had a fairly okay relationship with his father, he wasn't allowed in the home because it really hurt their mother to see him and to know that he had been unfaithful to her. So there was always an estrangement, and there was also challenges with the inheritance. So that's kind of the backstory. She arrives back to start her life with Limp, and on her arrival back to West Mills, she finds out that there has been a horrible murder, and all three of the Harmon half siblings of Limp have been killed, and Limp was taken in for questioning. Now, she does not believe that Limp did this, even though she knows there was disharmony. And what we end up seeing is this kind of look at the community and this kind of wider aperture into the community, because the cops don't want to pursue it. It's a Black family. There were drugs found, so they're going to say it was drug related, and they're going to end it at that. They don't need to look any further. Which is shocking because they were prominent. They were a prominent family in the Black community. This is in 1976, so there's still a lot of tensions between the Black community and the white community. The town is bifurcated in East and West, West being the Black part of town, East being the white part of town. And what's so interesting to me is both Jo, having lived up north, as well as the Harmon half siblings having lived up north, they come back with expectations of what should be allowed and should be possible in West Mills, only to really be shocked at how retrograde it is and how things are still kind of frozen in amber in terms of their opportunity as Black members of society. If you like Attica Locke and her writing, like I do, You might really, really like this. I think it's clever. I think the community building and all the gossip and all the assumptions of who people are and what they've done and what they haven't done and why the motivations that happen are really, really good. There's also really great dialogue here. So this, so much more happens, but I'm just going to stop there. So I really liked it, and I cannot wait to see what this author does again, and I do hope that they kind of project maybe another 10, 20 years into the future and we get more of West Mills. Okay, then this one blew my mind. Okay, this is a NetGalley arc that I was generously given. I heard that this was set in France in the 16th century. And that's all I needed to know. And also a feminist tale. So I'd heard of the author. The author is Kiran Millwood Hargrave. I've heard of her. I've heard of her work. I think she did the Mercies. But I hadn't read the Mercies. I will be rectifying that. So this was my jumping off point. So I started this book with very low knowledge about it. Just that it was set in France, that there was an event that happened that was based off of a true story about women who were ecstatically dancing, like a dance mania. And I thought, well, what is that all about? This book is so rich. It's so rich. There's so much here, but it is effortlessly woven together, and there is a pulse to this book. There's a poetry that is subtle. It's soft. It's beautifully written. Beautifully written. Okay, so with all of that said, what is it about? So this is set in 1518 Strasbourg. And now, so Strasbourg, as I'm reading it, I'm seeing Frau, and a lot of German in there. So, yes, it's France now, but then it was more Germanic, I guess. I don't think it was considered part of France at this time. Maybe I'm wrong. But the influences were far more Germanic than French as I was reading it. And we have Lisbeth. And that's who we meet in the opening. And Lisbeth has been beset with tragedy. She has had miscarriages, almost 10 miscarriages. So between like 7 and 10 miscarriages. And she is deep in grief. She is deep in doubt of herself and her place, especially because being a woman and having children is so crucially important. And so she is struggling, and her husband just wants her to forget it, try again, forget it, try again. But she carries all of those. She carries all of those children. She honors those children in a place in the Black Forest that she has found that's known as a dance tree. And it's old pagan mythology. And she ties ribbons for every child that she has lost as a way for her to stay connected and for her to honor that loss and honor those children that could have been. But she does this in secret because it's not allowed. The church is very, very strong. Patriarchy is very, very strong here. There is a council, and they control everything that happens in this community. So the one place of joy that she gets in her life is beekeeping. And it's something that her husband has done, that his mother has done, and that they showed her, and she's really good at it. And she takes this very experiential approach to it and focuses her breathing and tries to create a calming space around this hum, around this intensity and frenzy that's happening around her. And that becomes very important to how the rest of the book goes. So she's a great beekeeper, but the taxes are coming due, and everyone has to give up something, and they're being threatened that if they don't, that they have to give up portions of their bees, they have to give up portion of their land, they have to give up their candle making as well as their honey. And so her husband leaves to see if he can petition to have a stay in that, or to prolong it, kick it down the road, hold it off so they can continue to do what they do. Everyone is really poor. There's a lot of poverty. There's a lot of desperation. On top of all of this, there is a new person who has joined their home, and this is her sister-in-law. Her sister-in-law for the last 6 years has been in penance, which I guess is a kind of religious jail, for something that no one will talk about what she did. And so she doesn't know a lot. The woman is scary, mysterious, angry, withdrawn, and she makes her nervous. So her husband's left. This sister-in-law has come. She's this ball of anxious energy, and they go to the village and to sell their wares and to trade for some flour and a few things. And while they're there, she hears this noise happening. And so she kind of takes a look and goes to investigate and see what it is. And in the middle of the courtyard, there's this woman in this kind of trance-like dance. There's no music. And the way she portrays this dance, when I think of a dance mania, I think of ecstatic, like Sufi, joyous use of body as a way of praying and being one with God. This doesn't look like that at all. And I won't explain it, but just know it was so visceral reading this. I could see it. I can see it now. And it was maybe one of the first times that in the book where I thought, oh, this is really interesting. This is going to be very, very good. She is horrified and leaves and goes back home and gets her sister-in-law to come with her. They're isolated. They're off in closer to the woods than town. They start hearing that more women are joining, more women are showing up. And they only stop when they literally drop from exhaustion and sleep, and then they bounce back up and do it again. Their husbands will come, take them home, and then they'll sleep, and then they'll come back. They wake up and they come back, like this manic need to do this. The leaders of the town feel that they have to do something to break the mania. They're trying a whole bunch of things. And so they start to force the women to dance. And so they created these platforms, and the women have to stay on the platform. And they brought in Turkish musicians to play. And they think that they're going to, by speeding it up, they'll break them of this mania, like breaking a fever. And there's no place for these Turkish musicians to go, but everybody knows that Elizabeth's husband has left. And so there's a place in their home. And so these two musicians are placed with them. I'm going to stop there because this is such a rich, so many things happen. I've literally only given you a tiny little taste of all of the events and everything that takes place, even though I've told you so much. This is all in the very, very beginning. And it kind of sets the stage for what ends up happening. It's the tale of a feminist search, or even just, you don't even need to be a feminist, just a woman's search for any kind of crumb of joy in an oppressive society. It was the steady hum of oppression and tension that existed in this book was palpable and unrelenting. It was remarkable. I cannot tell you how much I loved this book. I would be stunned if this doesn't end up in my top for the year, because it was that good. It was that good. So yeah, that's all I read, but I'm really happy with those books. So let me tell you what I'm currently reading. I'm reading The Great Fire. I'm doing this with a bunch of people as we're doing our Shirley Hazzard author spotlight. And we are halfway through. We just had the midway check-in this morning. And this is a different book than the others. I'll hold off on talking about it more until later. Again, making my way very slowly with Paris stories. I read a few more this week, but didn't get too much further. I was more captivated with the other things I was reading. So we'll need to come back to this. Oh, this is Mavis Gallant, right there. And then I'm loving this book. This is The Belly of Paris by Emile Zola, translated by Brian Nelson. This is so decadent with food and the marketplace and the shops and all the ingredients, and it's very sensual. It's very much, the belly of Paris. So it's about the marketplace and all of the ways that the different shopkeepers one up each other and how capitalism is working. This is Zola's Rougon-Macquart series. And so he's always following one of those family members. And it took a while for us to see who of the family was going to appear. And it's Lisa on the Macquart side of the house, not the Rougon, where I've been spending more time. Loving this. The writing is still so good, but I cannot read this without being hungry. Even though there's a lot of meat in here, there's also just you just sense everything. It's pretty remarkable how he does it. So I am about halfway through with this. I mentioned last week that Leo and I decided to not read The Wings of a Dove after really not getting on with the beginning of it, and we switched to this, South Riding by Winifred Holtby. And this has been such a charming, fantastic switch. This is in the aftermath of World War I, so between the wars. And it's a little village, and we are learning all about how power works. We're learning about all the people who live there, and we have a really fantastic character in the new headmistress, whose name is Sarah Burton. And she is fascinating, great character. I really love how nobody is perfect in this book. There's no shiny, perfect exemplars here. Everyone has little tinges of interesting things, but it's really in the relationships between the people where the magic happens. So far, absolutely delighted, loving it. We're about a third of the way through. Then for my In Real Life book club, we're meeting this week, and so I need to finish this today. This is Checkout 19 by Claire-Louise Bennet. I will admit that first chapter almost turned me off, but because I'm reading it with my girlfriends, I was like, okay, I've got to at least get further in, and now I'm finding my way with it. Interestingly enough, she wrote Pond, and the same thing happened with Pond. It took me a while to get into that one too. So enjoying this very much. Then wanted to ask, I'm in the mood for spring reads. So when you think of spring, what is a book that comes to mind? So let me know, do you have any favorites that feature spring as a kind of a core grounding feature of the book? I would love to know because I'm really in the mood for something like that right now. And you all are brilliant. So I'm hoping you come up with some great suggestions. And then I also wanted to remind you all of these books. So this is Helen DeWitt, and these books are going to be the Author Spotlight series that I do coming up, and that's going to be from August to October, where we'll read these books slowly over the course of that time. And I wanted to make that open to you all as well. I'll put the sign up link below and a link to the video kind of explaining things a little bit more so that you can check that out. But would love to have you. We kind of meet globally, virtually on Sundays via Voxer. And we check into certain sections as we go. And that just allows us to talk about not just the books themselves, but also the process of the writer and how they're evolving, what they're pulling from different earlier works. Are they getting better? Are they trying? Have they refined certain things? Are they still struggling? You can kind of talk about all of that when you read a group of books like this together. So it's been phenomenally fun. All right, so that's it for me for now. I would love to know, have you read any of these books and what were your thoughts? And that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye.